Okay, I'm presenting a tool called Mukatale. So Mukatale in Uganda, a local language in Uganda, simply means in the market. So it is essentially a marketplace, but integrated with Telegram. The purpose of it is that I needed an interface that is familiar for people to use. Thank you. To increase the accessibility, because if you realize, I started an online shop with a friend of mine a while ago. A few months ago, I actually have the app here on my phone. It's called 828. This I am opening right now for those that can see my screen. So this interface might seem easy for someone that is familiar with online shops and how they operate. It might seem easy for someone to navigate through it, but just imagine you present this to a person that hasn't used an online shop before, and they're trying to purchase a product, and then they have to go through a number of steps. So there's a product here, and then you have to add it to cart, and you have to choose the number of items that you want to buy. So it's not straightforward for someone that hasn't used an online market before. It's not easy for them to utilize an application like this. So I wanted an interface that people are rather familiar with. So very soon I'll be able to integrate it with WhatsApp. But for now, we have Telegram. So for anyone that already knows how to use Telegram, you can buy a product with Mukatale. In a few days, you should be able to do that. So right now, I simply built the engine behind Mukatale. So there's an AI agent integrated with Mukatale. So you simply prompt it. I can say anything. For now, it's not specific as I want it to be. I don't have a list of products added to it, but if I want to buy anything that is other than food, it will reject my prompt, of course, politely, and show me it actually considers the message that I put in, but it can't help because it doesn't deal in the products that I'm maybe prompting it to help get me. Maybe if I said, let me actually use a voice because it allows both text and voice. So if I prompted it and says, "Hello, can you please get me a bag of cement today? Where can I buy it?" Okay, I'm simply, "Can I get a bag of cement today?" I'm just trying to prompt it with a voice. "Hello, I need a bag of cement today." Okay, I don't know why it's not showing. I think it's, "Hello, good evening." Let me start with that perhaps. Okay, let me just restart my app. I hope everyone can see my screen though. Some feedback, please. Can you all see my screen? Okay, no feedback. I hope that means that you can all see my screen.
Yes, we can.
So, okay, thank you. So I'm going to prompt it again. I think maybe it was having an issue. "Hello." Okay, I don't know why it's doing that, but
We shall debug.
we shall debug, yes. I really wanted to use the voice, but it is failing me. Okay, I'll figure out why the problem is. But if I use text, maybe I can say, "Get me shoes." So when I asked it to get me shoes, it clearly articulates to me that it doesn't deal in anything other than food merchandise. So essentially, it could be a marketplace for foods at all levels of processing, whether it's just from the garden or from the charcoal stove or an oven. And yeah, the business model for this is simply you buy food and you pay through the application itself. So the application is just an AI agent connected to so many other tools within within a Telegram chat. just like you can see it here. Everything else will be different in a few days, so you can keep following and see what it will look like even by the end of tomorrow. Essentially, that is the application, and I was actually thinking of the earlier tool that I had wanted to design was going to be a data storage unit that interacts with a smart contract through a system just like this. But I realized it's not feasible, and I decided to do this. And yeah, eventually I'll write a small documentation about it when it's complete, and you'll be able to guide me better on how to take it further. Otherwise, that is the idea that I had for today. It's called Mukatale, a Telegram based web shop. Thank you very much. Thank you for the applause.
So,
Any questions or feedback?
um, so is there any way we can see like some logic, or it's under development?
The logic is under development. My internet is slow. I would have shared my screen, my computer screen, but yeah, maybe next time I'll be able to share it. If I try connecting the PC, it will really slow down.
All right.
Thank you. Anyone else with feedback?
Hello, Manuel.
Hello, am I
Yes,
audible?
yes, you're audible, Ronnie.
I was asking, how are you planning on payments to
Yes,
the suppliers?
paying the suppliers. So it's going to be, I'm going to be essentially an intermediary. So if you're probably in Kasanje, for those who don't know Kasanje, that's where a decentralized on-site premises is. But just to give you a picture of what it looks like, first of all, it's far from the city, from Kampala, and it's really remote in the sense that if you looked for a basic tool, maybe a cosmetic, it will be hard to find in any of the shops around. So that can tell you what it is like for food. It's hard to find food in constant supply. Like you don't expect to buy chicken just anywhere. You have to be dedicated to actually eat chicken. You're going to find it in a particular place. So there's a market that is close by, but it is still far from where we are. The environment is just inconvenient for daily purchases. When you decide to come here, you're supposed to be ready with everything that you need. In essence, it's a business opportunity for me because those people that are in this place that live here, they definitely need these items, but it's not easy for them to obtain those items, considering the nature of the environment, how far it's from town, and the roads. So me as an intermediary, I'm simply going to be purchasing things from the suppliers in town and then deliver those items in Kasanje and Nakauka. That is the beginning. That is the idea, the first start of an idea. But maybe later we can expand. And yeah, that's essentially the concept. So the suppliers are going to be paid after the purchasers pay the money. So I simply transfer the money to the person that I'm buying from and then deliver the product for that person. It's as simple as that.
Okay, I had a question about the other app you first wrote, that
Mm.
8.
8 to 8, yes. Yes, Ronnie.
Yes, is it in production?
Yes, it's active. It's active, just that it's in a small place, just in the scope of Ginger. It's the city and a few of the suburbs around the city. That's its operational scope right now, but it's active. Although even from where you stand, there's nothing that can stop you from making an order. It's just that the physical infrastructure only allows delivery to that small place.
Okay, another thing, a mini app instead, so that people can look at the pictures actually, because in
Mm.
the online shopping experience, the picture is very important, really.
Yeah, I actually thought about that. Thank you very much for mentioning it. That means it's actually something that people think about. Yeah, I'm going to develop it into a mini app. Beyond just being a chatbot and with an AI agent, engineering it, I am going to actually make it a mini app. But still within Telegram, it's easier for people to navigate.
Yes, I was suggesting you make a mini app,
Mm.
but different from the chatbot. Like the chatbot is the assistant, and the
Mm.
mini app is also a place just in case of anything.
Mm. Okay, thank you very much for the recommendation. Yeah, I'll definitely give that a consideration. It's very helpful info. Any other person? Michael, Maria, Agre, please say something. I think, yeah, I believe I've shared enough about my mini project today. And yeah, we can be in touch in the Telegram channel at the Central Code for any updates that will come up. Thank you very much.
Okay, but for me, I think I have another. I'm more intrigued with the other project you briefly shared because
Mm,
I'm curious.
mm.
Is it how is business so far? Are customers coming in, or could you tell us about that?
Yeah, yeah, it's a fascinating project, but the details of Ace to Eight, I don't think I'm privileged to share them on a YouTube video. So maybe we can get in touch and discuss one on one. I can't
Okay.
talk about it in public.
Hello.
Yourself.
Yes. Thank you for that project. I think it is really, yes, something that is good. I think it is
Mm,
highly needed. Probably testing it out would be awesome. So yeah, great work, sure.
mm. Thank you very much for the feedback.
Do you have any other person who wants to add on something?
Yes, I have tried building this Telegram bot before, but I'm not familiar with this tool you are using. I'm seeing it is sent by 8N8N. Could you talk
Mm.
about it? I think I missed it when I
Oh
was.
yes. Okay, N8N is just a workflow automation tool. It abstracts away most of the programming that you would have to do to build a bot from the ground up. So it's essentially like a drag and drop, but of course there's a lot of logic within there. If you don't have developer experience, you are likely to face issues using it. But for you, I believe you've done development, so mostly it uses JSON files to transfer elements from one component to another. So it's like you have nodes in a workflow of what would I call it normally? It would be a flowchart, like how processes should run from the start to end. So that information is transferred in JSON files, and you can modify it at each of the nodes to create something that is custom for yourself. Yeah, it's essentially that. automation. You can create a tool from start to end. It may take some time to practice it and understand the different functionalities that it has, but it's also very composable because it can receive HTTP requests. So that means essentially you can call an RPC that writes smart contracts. So it's a lot of things that there's a lot of things that it does. You can check it out. It's not very hard to use. And yeah, I believe it's easy for you to onboard and be able to use it. I think that is actually a link that's that line at the end of all the messages.
Can that line be like customly removed away if you don't want it to be in your response?
Yeah, from what I know now, it can, but you need to pay for a subscription for it to go up because it's an integration of so many tools, and they need to incentivize you to pay because I'm sure all those tools are being paid for. It has integration with Google Workspace, with OpenAI, with practically everything that you may think of. So far from what I have experienced, it really integrates with so many tools, internet tools. Uh, it integrates with Notion, integrates with Notion, integrates with uh, like everything that you would use in an office or in a business or almost any kind of environment that requires using computers. It has tools listed in each of those fields. So it can't be cheap. Most of those things we actually pay for them independently in the different places where we use them. So having them integrated in a tool like that, there definitely has to be money that is going out. So yeah, that thing to go off, you have to pay for a certain subscription.
So which means they host the code for the boot for you.
The what?
They host the code of the boot,
Yes,
the
they do.
files, the code. Do they
So
host
it's mm, yes, I would actually call it a software as a service at the level at the level it operates. I think it's a SaaS platform. If I can share with my screen, I hope I can catch my camera. And, uh, let me try to show you on my screen what it looks like. My camera may not be very good, but this is my workflow for the tool I've just been showing you. Of course, there's a lot more than what you see here, but precisely this is what it is. I started Telegram by picking a message, and then there's a switch here, so it's simply like a router to choose between two things, either text or voice. So when I go to voice, I have to pass it through an AI tool that is going to recognize the voice and pick text from it, then deliver it to the agent. So for here as well, if I have text, it delivers it to the agent. When I get to the AI agent, what it has brought in is just info, maybe a question, and with an LLM model down here, still OpenAI, an LLM model with a generated answer it has come up with, and then deliver the message back. So I'm going to add functionality all here for it to be able to show you a list of products and to send money to me when you choose to buy a product. Yeah. So essentially, this is how it operates. It's called N8N. It's more like a graphical unit, but when you open each of these elements, there is work inside here, like how you integrate. I think you can see the work on
So
here.
are those nodes customly made or
Yeah,
you make
randomly
them
made.
yourself?
Some are present, some you can add yourself. I think you can see this is actually a JSON file, so all these things are modifiable. But it's really easy to get on board with this. It's not so hard. Yeah, so now if I have a message, for example, you can see it has all this information about the message. It's a lot like an object, a key value pair for each of these things. Then you can choose what you want to take on, maybe into the next node. And yeah, you can see I picked out only the text from a whole list of elements here. So it essentially operates like, I don't know what to relate it to, but yeah, it's really easy to build a workflow from this. So essentially, I'm building a workflow and I want to turn it into an actual business. Yeah, that's what it is. And
Does it
and
support version
does
control?
it? It has version control. Yes, it does.
Does it support?
Sajja bamwe ku mazzi.
Ronnie,
Yes.
you're saying? I think you are asking another question. I think.
I was asking about. No, I was repeating the version control. I thought you had not heard it, but I think it's a good
Oh
tool.
yeah,
I'm going to try it out. It's
it is.
good.
I believe it's really good too. And I believe you can build businesses around it. Now, maybe this is digression to the purpose of this video, but I did some gigs in virtual assistants back then. So I was doing automations with there's there's a wrapper of JavaScript that is integrated in Google Workspace. It's called Google App Script. So it simply works with the execution model as the function. So you put all your functionality within the function, and then the function is accessible to Google, and Google will do exactly what you defined in that function. So I was using it for quite a number of things, like automatically modifying spreadsheets, like booking flights on Google, sending automatic emails with particular triggers, of course. But you know, it's code and it's hard. It's you have to keep going through errors for it to operate. You have to change it quite very often for it to suit the needs of the person that you're working for. And I believe this is a tool that you could use to actually build VA businesses. Maybe you could choose to work for someone and decide to be a social media manager. Like you could post maybe 5 posts for them every day, and it is possible with N8N. Like you can generate actual posts. So there's a lot to the scope of its functionality is really wide. I don't think I can even finish to think about what the things that it's able to do, because now for people in finance, they can now generate audits of um, of their monthly expenditure and even have it analyzed just like an auditor would do it. Imagine that. So it has a wide scope of capabilities, and I've also seen in people of data analytics, you can feed it with a data set and then just call in some model, and it will generate whatever you want for you, any kind of chart that you want, and maybe give you the interpretation of the chart and projections. So it's really, really powerful. Yeah, so that's it about N8N. Unless there is any other question, I think I've really said
Now, the
what I
other is
plan.
how are you planning to integrate Web3 in this project you are sharing?
Okay, the relevance of Web3 in this particular project is really trivial. But in the you've seen it's called Musao underscore bot. So what I was intending to do with that first version of itself was to create a data infrastructure that can be stored somewhere on a blockchain, and all the data that is collected at the point of interaction between a patient and a doctor. So what happens is when a doctor writes down all my information, they post it through WhatsApp, like directly through WhatsApp, and then it's stored either on IPFS or Celestia or Arif. I hadn't chosen where what data availability layer I would use, and then simply have maybe a proof that is saved on the blockchain for this data to be unchangeable. And the purpose of this was, if you realize, even here in Uganda, and not just Uganda, even all the countries around us, we have an issue with data availability, and this affects our research progress. Why countries like European countries have all this research going on in healthcare, in food and biosciences, is because they have a lot of data that they collect even when they don't need it at that time. So by the time they actually need it, they already have it and they can use it to, they can leverage it to research and do innovations. I'll give you a scenario. If you realize in COVID, we're in lockdowns, like people are not allowed to move and go to, um, like maybe if you were in Kawempe or Nakawa, it was difficult for you to cross and reach Boyogerere or reach Wandegere. And this is how it impacted most families, especially those that had HIV. COVID 19 was completely unassociated with HIV. But do you know that patients with HIV actually died during COVID 19? And this is the reason. Most of them, because of the stigma associated with the disease, many of them don't want to get their medication from the hospitals close to them. So they have to register in hospitals far away from them. And they couldn't travel for their medication. So many of them had to get off their regimens and their health deteriorated. Many of them died. And this was a problem that would be visible if we had data about people living in different places, and we could leverage that to understand how many people would be affected if certain measures were imposed and their health issues were not put into consideration when these things are being, when those decisions are made. So when data is available, it enables a lot of objective decision making that we can't have when we don't have it. So I think it's important that we have this data and stored in a way that cannot be changed or manipulated to serve the purposes of particular people. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to do with it, and integrate smart contracts that would be able to store and fetch that data and compose it just like it's needed by an AI agent.
Okay. About that, I have like two questions. About that first idea you had, you understand
Mm,
that the blockchain is public and transparent, and usually that's what you
mm,
don't want medical data to be associated with. How are you going to go
mm,
about that? The other question is about the other 8 to 8. It's really intriguing. I'm trying to leave it alone, but could you please share the stack, the technology stack that was used, or it's also classified?
mm. The technology stack is the obvious one. There's nothing unique about it. It's okay. Actually, it was designed in React. The front end was designed in React. Me, I personally worked on a few objects in the front end, and I've been mainly in the business development. But I think it was Man. You know Man. There's MongoDB, then Express.js. I'm forgetting what the other elements are, but it's essentially that stack. There's nothing extraordinary about it. Yeah, it's just an innovation that maybe people hadn't thought about, but it was designed in languages as we already know.
Um, yeah, I think on his second question, like the blockchain is transparent,
Mm,
but there are many things that actually are going on the blockchain. It is good for
mm,
providing proofs. So that means that if I have data, I can prove that actually this is the result of this data without knowing the data. So that's one of the things that blockchain gives, like things like zero knowledge proofs. So just imagine you have this data on the blockchain. Having the data on the blockchain is one of the things that certifies that actually this data was put. It was from the time it was put, it was not changed. By then, maybe
mm,
instead of just having it there, creating things like proofs where for a given result, probably from this data, because you would not want the data itself. You would want things like, let me say, statistics. Uh, Maybe given the people at this place, how many, what percentage of this of the people that stay here buy their drugs a kilometer away from where they stay, or things like that. So blockchain is good with proofs, and I think, yeah, data can be, in that way we can have, such issues, such good things where we have data stored on the blockchain, which is a mechanism of letting us know that this data was not changed, it is authentic since it was put, so it was not changed to manipulate a given result, maybe if we need to do research. But then secondly, we do things like proofs that can give us results without knowing the essential bits, maybe who gave this data and things like that.
Maybe to add on what he has said, ZK proofs can help you establish the fact of integrity of the data. But there's a concept I learned in Solidity yesterday, and regarding your question, Ronnie, I think I'm going to explore it further. It's some kind of, like the other time we had looked at address whitelisting, like for purposes of minting NFTs. But I looked at a concept yesterday that selects particular people and gives them specific roles. So we could do something like that. I'm planning to actually explore it. Do something like that and only allow access to that data by people who have particular addresses. Like maybe the deployer of the contract could be the only one that can actually access the data, but the rest of you can only see the proofs that that data actually exists. Or I could whitelist a few addresses and allow them to access this data. And whoever wants to access this data will have to access it through those addresses. Like maybe they have to use them as third parties for them to reach that data. And yeah,
But
so it's a concept of
in
exclusivity, and I believe
Musau,
can
but
help.
AI tool.
Okay.
Okay, so with respect to what you have just said and what you said earlier about this data being used for research, don't you think that those other steps that you have to go through had another layer, another block that hinders the research? Because in your first proposal, as if the point of collecting this data was later to be used for research. How about that?
Please, some clarity. I don't think I get your question clearly.
With what you first said, this data was being
Yes.
collected to be used for research later. And then
Yes.
with these concepts of proofs and abstraction, whitelisting, don't you think
Mm.
this data then will not be easily available to people who may be doing the research? It may
Okay.
require.
Yes. First of all, this is very sensitive information. It's information about the health of a person. It's information about so many things that can easily be manipulated by bad actors to compromise the well-being of someone. So it has to be controlled in such a way that it's only in the hands of people that have been trusted to access the data. So for purposes of research, this data is a business. By now, we all know that. So for me to establish an infrastructure in which I am harvesting data, I'm establishing an investment. So if someone wants to do research on a particular with a particular data set that I have in my portfolio, they have to pay me for it first of all, and I have to grant them access to that data. Maybe I will fetch it for them and give them the data sets, or and there's a concept of blockchain that I'm also exploring. Um, how I can monitor what data is being used for, something that is still not, I haven't wrapped my head around very much, but I had a glimpse of it, and I think it is something that can help control how data is used. But the point is, this data is supposed to be only available to those people that have been vetted to use it and whose purposes are very clear. But also, this data isn't just for research. I'll give you another example of how this data is very important. Right now, if you met someone on the road and they've been knocked down, they're practically dying, and the health assistance has to come in a matter of minutes for them to survive. But you don't know what their blood group is. Maybe they've had an accident. You don't know what their blood group is. You don't know what their allergies are. You do not know anything about them, but you want to help them. So you take them to hospital and you tell this doctor, this guy, I met him on the road. Maybe he has had a head injury. It's a very severe condition and can kill you in a matter of minutes. So where is the chance that the doctor is not going to mess up with this patient? Because it's very easy for them to choose to do something that is going to waste time at that moment. Maybe they want to find out their blood group, but blood grouping and typing takes at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes is enough time for someone to die if they are bleeding. But if we have information that is stored somewhere on the blockchain, and maybe I can access it with just a thumbprint of this person's biometrics, all I need is their thumbprint. I know their blood group. I know what drugs I'm not supposed to give them, parts of their bodies have had surgeries before. So I can act fast basing on that information. And that is one of the purposes. Actually, it was the primary purpose of this information, that there is data about you. Whenever someone needs it to help you in terms of your health, it is available. Because even when we go to hospital, we don't know much about ourselves. Like if I asked you your health history from the past 3 years, the only thing you'll remember is that time when you maybe had a headache and went to hospital. But you don't even have that data. You may not even remember it, but it's actually very important in the decisions that are going to be made by the person that will treat you right now when you're having another complication or having the same complication still. So it's supposed to guide, avail information about people so they can better be helped. There could be an outbreak of a disease in your area, but you don't know because because no one knows how many people are falling sick from that disease in that small area. And you as an individual, you can't have an idea of what things are happening in your area in terms of health because people don't tell you what their problems are unless they can clearly be visible that this person is actually sick. So yeah, that is the primary purpose of that data and later research. So it's supposed to be available to doctors. And yeah, I was planning to establish security measures that maybe for a doctor to be able to establish it, their license must have been minted on a database that confirms that they are actually registered